It started with a receipt. I wasn't snooping. That's the first thing I want to make clear. Amber had just gotten back from a weekend yoga retreat in Big Sur with her friends, and she was riding that high of post-meditation glow, loose curls in her hair, soft loungewear, barefoot in the kitchen making herbal tea like she was the star of a wellness ad. She looked beautiful, honestly. Peaceful. The kind of peaceful you can't fake unless you really believe your own story. And I believed her. Or I wanted to. We'd been together 6 years, married for 3. We'd had our ups and downs like any couple. She'd always been more into the holistic lifestyle stuff, the yoga, the manifesting, the raw food cleanses, but it never got between us. Until lately, I guess. The distance had crept in slow like fog on the coast. Her schedule got busier, her phone got quieter. She spent more time in high-waisted leggings and expensive sports bras than she did in anything I remembered buying for her. But I didn't think much of it. I chalked it up to work stress, to routines shifting post-COVID. I figured we'd reconnect when life calmed down. That Sunday evening, I was folding laundry in our bedroom while she unpacked. She had this playlist on, wind chimes and ocean waves mixed with acoustic guitar. She was humming to herself, unzipping her duffel and tossing yoga mats and incense out like souvenirs. That's when I noticed the receipt. It was lying half-buried under her copy of Mindful Living on the nightstand. Just a corner sticking out enough to catch my eye. I picked it up without really thinking. Maybe I thought it was a spa menu or one of those "thank you for visiting" brochures. But no. It was a receipt. A printed invoice from the Windmere Coastal Retreat. Dates, Friday to Sunday. Suite, Ocean View King, private balcony, rose petal welcome. Guests, 2 adults. Payment method, Visa ending in 7201, her card. Extras, couples massage. Room service. Champagne add-on. I didn't breathe for a second. Just stood there staring at the paper like it might disappear if I blinked enough times. I read it again. And again. My brain tried to stitch together alternate explanations like it was a logic puzzle. A billing error. Maybe she split the room with one of her friends. Maybe they got upgraded. Maybe the front desk assumed 2 guests. But the couple's massage bit crushed that idea. I heard her humming in the bathroom, the sound of water running as she rinsed her face. I slipped the receipt back exactly where I found it, smoothed out the magazine on top, and stepped back. I didn't say anything. Not right then. I should have. But in that moment, I think part of me needed to pretend it didn't mean what it obviously meant. We went about the rest of the evening like normal. Or I did my best to. She talked about how relaxing the weekend had been, how much she needed the time away from screens and stress. I smiled, nodded, asked soft questions that didn't matter. But my mind kept drifting back to that piece of paper. The neat font. The details. The champagne. The next morning, I decided to test the waters. We were in the kitchen. She was making her usual green smoothie and I was sipping coffee, pretending to scroll through the news. "Hey," I said casually, "I was just reading this travel article mentioned that Windmere Place in Big Sur. Isn't that where you guys stayed?" She didn't even flinch. Just smiled and said, "Yeah." The views were unreal. I wish I'd taken more pictures, but I was trying to unplug, you know. I nodded. Must have been a great setup. Looked like a nice place. She laughed a little, too easily. "Yeah." Although there was a weird mix-up when we checked out. The front desk had us listed as being in a suite. Must have been a system glitch or something. We all thought it was hilarious. A glitch. A suite. I said, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah," she said, tossing spinach into the blender. It was a standard room, but the bill said suite. I think they charged us for the wrong thing. One of the girls was gonna call them about it, but we ended up just splitting it evenly. No big deal. She didn't even blink. And for a second, I almost believed her. I wanted to. Her explanation came so easily. Too easily. The way she said it like it wasn't worth thinking about. She was already moving on to talking about the smoothie she had at this roadside cafe that supposedly used lavender-infused ice. But there was something in her eyes. Something that didn't match her voice. I've known Amber long enough to know when she's lying. Not because she's bad at it, if anything, she's polished. But because when she lies, she tries a little too hard to act like nothing's wrong. Like she's walking through a scene she's rehearsed in her head 10 times before. That's what this felt like. I nodded. I smiled. I acted like it all made sense. But something inside me shifted in that moment. Not like a dam bursting. More like the first crack in the foundation. I didn't push her. I didn't call her out. I wasn't even sure what I'd be accusing her of. But that receipt sat in the back of my mind all day. Like a splinter I couldn't quite dig out. She left for work around 8:30. Same as usual. I stayed home that day, remote meetings, admin stuff. But my focus was sh*T. I kept thinking back over the last few months. How she started going to that boutique Pilates studio across town. How she'd come home later, glistening, smiling, energized in a way I hadn't seen from her in a long time. I remembered how she canceled our anniversary weekend in Sonoma last minute. Said her team at the wellness brand she freelanced for needed her on a branding sprint. That had stung more than I let on. And now this, a sweet, a rose petal welcome. A weekend that was supposed to be about quiet reflection and healing energy. Booked for 2. By that afternoon, I opened our shared calendar and started going through past weekends. I looked for patterns, overlaps, things she claimed to be doing. Retreats, networking events, girls' nights. I matched them to bank statements, tracked her Uber receipts, even found her old iPad we hadn't touched since we upgraded. At that point, I hadn't found anything solid. Just a knot in my stomach that kept tightening every time I looked at her name on a payment or saw a charge for wine at places she told me she didn't go to anymore. But something had changed. The innocence of our routines. The trust one didn't even realize I was holding. It was all starting to feel scripted. That night, when she got home, she kissed me like she always did, asked about my day, talked about her podcast backlog, sat on the couch with her legs tucked under her, like everything was normal. And I played along. I laughed when she made a joke about her boss. I rubbed her feet when she complained about her arches. I handed her a glass of wine and asked if she wanted to watch our show. But under all of it, every word, every smile, I was watching her more closely than I ever had. Because now I knew. I didn't know what exactly, not yet, but I knew that this woman, my wife, was hiding something. And it all started with that receipt. After that day, everything changed. Not in some dramatic explosion of truth kind of way. It was subtle, quiet, like the second act of a play where the audience starts realizing all the small things they missed in the beginning. I saw everything differently now. Amber hadn't changed overnight. The signs had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. For one, her phone. I remember when we used to sit on the couch, curled up, phones tossed wherever. Hers used to light up nonstop with texts from her sisters, memes from her friends, Slack messages from her freelance clients. It was open, careless. Now, it was always face down, silent, like it was hiding something. She used to leave it charging in the kitchen overnight. Now it slept next to her, clutched in her hand or tucked under her pillow like a secret. Notifications stopped popping up altogether. Then came new passcodes, app locks, a sudden concern about digital privacy. She even installed one of those vault apps disguised as a calculator. I noticed, but I said nothing, because once you suspect something, everything starts looking like evidence. The luxury activewear was another shift. Amber had always been into fitness, sure, but we were both more Target and Nike than boutique brands. Then one day she started showing up with bags from Loon and Terra, Vivana Sport, that kind of stuff. Tops that cost more than our groceries. It's part of my work, she said when I asked. Clients expect me to represent the wellness aesthetic, which I believed, sort of. But she wore them out to Pilates, to sound bath therapy, to branding brainstorms at the T-bar. Sometimes she'd leave around 6 p.m., dressed to sweat, and wouldn't come back until after 9:30. Oh, we stayed for kombucha and journaling after class, she'd explain, breathy and flushed, hair tousled like she'd just done a magazine shoot instead of reformer lunges. Once I offered to drive her, said I could pick her up too. She got oddly stiff. No, it's fine. Traffic's a mess on that side of town. Besides, it's good solo time for me. Solo time, right? Then there was the perfume. She used to wear light florals, airy scents I'd come to associate with her presence. But recently, she'd switched to something new, deeper, muskier, more suggestive. I noticed it clinging to her when she came back from her classes. She'd walk in, cheeks pink, breathing a little heavier than usual, and the scent would fill the hallway before I even saw her. It didn't smell like yoga. It smelled like she was trying to impress someone. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Because that's the thing about suspicion, it eats at you, but you keep it close. Like you're trying to find the right moment to open the cage, but every time you reach for the lock, your hands shake. I started testing things. Asking her about our anniversary trip. We had a tradition, wine country in Sonoma every March, just the two of us. It was simple, but it meant something. This year, she canceled. Claimed she had a last-minute opportunity with a client. It's a big brand, she said. If I pull this off, it could fund a real studio space. I remember how earnestly she said it, eyes bright, like she was on the edge of some dream she'd been waiting for her whole life. I didn't argue. I told her I understood. But now, weeks later, that memory didn't bring pride. It brought nausea. Was there even a client? Was that trip just another cover? I started keeping track of things. Small things. Uber trips. Notes in my phone. *TS of calendar entries that didn't match. I wasn't even sure what I was doing. I felt like a detective in my own marriage, tiptoeing through routines that had once felt sacred. And still, I said nothing. Not until that night with the charger. It was a Thursday. She had just come back from another long class and was heading straight to the shower. She left her gym bag on the couch and I noticed her phone was nearly dead. I grabbed my charger to plug it in, thinking I was being helpful. But when I tapped the screen, it didn't open. I knew her passcode. At least, I used to. She had changed it. No big deal, right? People update passwords all the time. Except when I asked her casually, she froze. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I switched it last week after that new Apple update. It glitched on me and forced a reset. I'll give it to you later. She never did. From then on, it felt like I was living next to a stranger who wore my wife's face. She still laughed at my dumb jokes. Still rested her legs on mine when we watched TV. But I started realizing how rehearsed it all felt. She was pulling away. But not like someone who needed space. Like someone who was building an exit ramp. I watched her smile with friends, saw how alive she seemed in their company, how much lighter her voice got. At home, she was tired, disconnected, busy with work. But in those rare moments I caught her on a call before she noticed me, the tone changed. She used to say she needed mental clarity. Needed to recalibrate. That she was working on her emotional bandwidth. But it wasn't peace she was chasing. It was distance. And whatever she was moving toward, it wasn't me. I started waking up earlier than her, sitting in the kitchen in silence, just watching the sun rise and wondering who I was living with. She was slipping away. And the terrifying part was that she didn't even seem conflicted about it. No guilt. No second-guessing. Like the decision had already been made. I just hadn't been informed yet. That Wednesday, I stayed home from work. Told my team I had a migraine and needed the day offline. Technically not a lie. It wasn't the kind of pain you treat with Advil, but my head had been pounding for days. Amber kissed me goodbye like it was any other morning. She was dressed in her usual black-on-black, studio-wear leggings, fitted tank, the kind of zip-up jacket that could pass as workout gear or a date-night top depending on the angle. I've got that candle workshop with Chloe's crew tonight, she said, grabbing her keys. Chloe's crew, I repeated, smiling like I bought it. She leaned in to kiss me. I turned my cheek at the last second. She didn't comment on it. Don't wait up, she added as she walked out. I watched her from the window, how she adjusted her ponytail in the reflection of the car door, how she checked her phone before she even pulled out of the driveway. And then I got to work. There was one thing she forgot, the iPad. We hadn't used it in months. She used to bring it on flights or long work calls, but lately it had just sat in a drawer in the guest room. What she didn't remember was that it was still synced to her cloud account. I took it out, plugged it in, and waited. It booted up like an old dog, slow, groaning, but still loyal. When it finally unlocked, I went straight for messages. There they were. Texts from someone saved as Chloe G. Yoga. But Chloe didn't talk like this. Need to see you again. Been thinking about your mouth since Saturday. I booked the W for next weekend. Private balcony. No interruptions. Your scent is still all over my sheets. I scrolled. My stomach turned. Photos. Voice notes. Plans for future meetups. A full-on emotional ecosystem she'd built with someone else. The sender wasn't Chloe. It was Hunter. Her personal trainer. The guy she met at that new boutique studio in Westwood, the one with the eucalyptus towels and Himalayan salt walls. The guy she swore was strictly professional, even joked once that he was too hot to be into clients. Yeah, that guy. They had been meeting for months. It started after her supposed brand trip to Ojai, the one that overlapped with our anniversary. At first, it was just flirty. Then it got real. Hotel confirmations. *TS of calendars. Her telling him she had to pretend to care about our dinner plans so she wouldn't raise suspicion. She even used our Netflix account to stream movies together while they were apart. I just sat there, silent, watching every lie I'd ever swallowed get re-explained by the truth. She had another life. And it had roots. Not some fling. Not a spark that caught and flamed out. This was sustained. Grown. Maintained. He called her Red. She called him Coach. Sometimes H. Sometimes everything. I stopped reading after a while. My eyes blurred. I wasn't crying, not really. But I felt that deep burn behind the eyes, the kind that makes your face feel heavy, like it's being pulled into itself. I got up, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and just stood there. How long had I been trying to save something she had already replaced? I wasn't even mad. Not yet. What I felt was clarity. Like the noise had finally stopped. All the contradictions, the weird moments, the excuses, they aligned now. Like a puzzle snapping into place. The cancellation of our anniversary trip. The champagne charges. The new perfume. The boutique fitness obsession. The silent retreats that had no receipts but lots of hotel charges. She hadn't been finding herself. She'd been finding someone else. I went back to the iPad. I needed proof. For myself, for later, maybe even for legal reasons. I ***ed everything. The texts. The photos. The date stamps. The messages that detailed their plans, their rendezvous points, the way she described me like I was some obstacle in her way instead of a person she once promised to love. She called me stable. She called him electric. She said I was her foundation. He was her fire. I put the iPad down. I didn't throw it. I didn't scream. I just sat at the edge of her bed and stared at my hands. You always think you'll know what betrayal feels like. Like you'll feel fire. Rage. Chaos. But in truth, it was stillness. Like the sound had gone out of the world. I made a folder on my laptop. Dragged all the evidence into it. Labeled it exit plan. I didn't know what I'd do next, but I knew I wouldn't ask questions. I didn't need explanations. I had the truth. That night when she came home, I didn't say a word. She acted like everything was normal. Kicked off her shoes, asked if I wanted a turmeric latte, told me her candle crew ran late because they got lost in a conversation about intention setting. I nodded. She smiled. Kissed my cheek. And went to take a bath. I watched her walk away humming some indie folk song about the moon or fate. And for the first time I saw it clearly. She wasn't mine anymore. She hadn't been for a long time. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or demand answers. I didn't even let her know I knew. Because once the truth settles into you, once it really roots, something changes. The need for closure fades. The urge to argue, to plead, to be chosen, it all disappears. I didn't want a confession. I wanted an exit. And not just any exit. One that left no room for misinterpretation. So I started working in silence. Step 1 was the money. We had a shared checking account, 2 savings accounts, and a brokerage we built together. I began by shifting funds slowly, subtly, so nothing would flag a bank alert. A few hundred here, a transfer there. Over 2 weeks, I moved enough to create a financial cushion under my name alone. Then I opened a separate account, different bank, new email. I redirected my paychecks, canceled automatic transfers. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did and just thought I was budgeting. Next came the legal protection. I pulled our prenup from the file cabinet, scanned every clause, and made a copy for a lawyer friend of mine, discreet, trusted. We met twice, both times under the guise of lunch. He walked me through how to separate cleanly, what to document, what to prepare. He said, if you've got evidence, keep it secure. Don't hint at it. Don't use it until it matters. So I followed his advice. I backed everything up, the texts, the photos, the hotel receipts, the date-stamped **TS, all into a hidden drive labeled as something boring, Tax Docs 2021. Step 3 was the apartment. I found a short-term lease downtown. Nothing fancy, just clean, quiet, furnished. 1 bedroom, tall windows. A place I could disappear into without any questions. I used a different credit card and paid 3 months in advance. While she planned yoga weekends and posted quotes about authentic alignment, I packed boxes when she wasn't home. Winter coats. My grandfather's watch. A set of dishes my sister gave us the first Christmas we were married. I didn't take everything, only what mattered. And then I built the envelope. Not digital. Not a folder on a screen. An actual manila envelope. Inside, I placed printed **TS. The full hotel invoice from Windmere. Transcripts of her texts with Hunter, not all, just the ones that were impossible to refute. The ones that used words like, when he's asleep, and the way you taste, and I love you more than I ever loved him. I included a copy of our prenup. A letter. 1 page. Typed. Nothing emotional. Just the facts. Amber. I found out. I've known for a while. I won't cause a scene. I'm not interested in hurting you. But I won't live in a lie. I've removed myself from the story. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Please don't contact me. You made your choice. I'm just honoring it. Randall. I left it under her pillow. That Friday, she was heading to another girl's night, a thing that had become weekly now, like clockwork. She was dressed like she was auditioning for a music video, silk top, high heels, red lipstick she only wore on birthdays. She blew me a kiss on her way out the door. Don't wait up. I didn't. I waited exactly 10 minutes, grabbed my bags, and left. No dramatic exit. No slamming doors. I didn't even take the car. I ordered a rideshare to the hotel I'd booked for the weekend, the one near my new apartment, and sat in silence as the driver made small talk. He asked what I did for work. I said marketing. He said that sounded cool. I stared out the window. My phone buzzed once around midnight. Her name. A photo, her smiling with 3 women I didn't recognize, holding drinks, captioned, "My soul tribe dizzy." I turned off my phone and set it face down. Let her have her tribe. Let her dance in her curated life. By the time she got home, I was already gone. The house looked normal. No drawers yanked open, no mess. But I wasn't there. My side of the closet was empty. My shoes were gone. My toothbrush was missing. And the envelope sat neatly on the bed. I imagined her walking in, heels clicking across the wood floors, humming some happy tune, only to find the stillness. The absence. I imagined the moment she found it. And I imagined the silence that followed. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted her to see herself. Not the version she posted online, not the empowered, spiritual, free-spirited woman she marketed to the world, but the one who lied to her husband for months while smiling through dinner. The one who built an affair like it was a second home, furnished with secrets and scented candles. The one who thought I would never notice. But I did. And now she would notice me not by my presence, but by the shape of my absence. By the empty chair at the dinner table. By the coffee mugs stacked unevenly because one was missing. By the silence where my footsteps used to be. And most of all, by the envelope. The truth hand-delivered. No argument. No ultimatum. No second chances. Just proof. And a goodbye. A week passed before I saw her again. Not by accident. I made sure of that. The messages started 2 days after I left, first one, then a flood. Randall, what is this? Where are you? I need to talk to you, please. You're blowing this out of proportion. Let's be adults about this. I can explain. This isn't fair. It was like watching someone bargaining with gravity. Denial, panic, blame, guilt, reach. But I stayed silent. And that silence, it worked better than I ever could have imagined. She tried calling my mom. Then my brother. She messaged my best friend on Instagram. She left a note taped to the front door of my new apartment, even though I never gave her the address. I guess someone told her. Still, I said nothing. I wasn't playing a game. I wasn't angling for revenge or a dramatic showdown. But I did have one last card to play. Not for closure. Not for vengeance. For clarity, hers, not mine. So I planned a night. One she wouldn't forget. It was casual at first. I texted a few mutual friends, said I was hosting a wine tasting on the rooftop of a new bar in Beverly Hills. Called it a soft reset, a way to reconnect, thank everyone for the support during my supposed time away. Amber and I had shared most of these friends, well, at least socially. She kept them in the Instagram loop. I kept them in the real one. Some of them already suspected something had gone wrong. A few knew the details. But none of them had seen the full picture. That was about to change. I booked the rooftop lounge privately. Worked with the manager to plan a tasting lineup: Cabernets, Pinot Noirs, a sparkling rose for fun. She's bored. Low lighting. Soft jazz. I invited everyone from our usual circle. And then quietly, I invited one more person. Lauren. Hunter's girlfriend. She had found me first. I'd noticed her name in one of the message threads Amber had with him. Curious. I did some searching. Found her on social. And sent a polite, vague message. Hi. You don't know me, but I think we may have something important in common. Would you be open to talking? She replied within an hour. The call lasted 90 minutes. By the end, we were allies. Turns out she'd suspected for months. Had confronted Hunter twice. He denied it both times. Called her paranoid. Said Amber was just a client. She'd believed him. She didn't anymore. So when I invited her to the rooftop, I told her, "You don't have to say a word. Just show up. I'll handle the rest." She said, "I'll be there." The night arrived. Everyone showed. Amber too. She walked in wearing a dress I recognized. Deep green, fitted, expensive. The kind she used to save for anniversary dinners. Her hair was curled, her makeup perfect. She spotted me across the space and smiled like we were just two people running into each other at a gallery. She made her rounds, complimented the lighting, kissed cheeks, poured wine. She laughed easily. Too easily. Then, right on cue, Lauren walked in. She wore a simple black top, jeans, hair pulled back. No drama. No theatrics. Just a woman with a phone in her hand and a reason to be here. I greeted her briefly. She nodded toward Amber, who hadn't noticed her yet. I tapped my glass with a fork. Everyone turned. "I won't keep you long," I said. "Just wanted to thank you all for being here. I've been a bit MIA lately, and I appreciate everyone giving me space. Life's been educational. But I'm grateful." Murmurs, toasts, sips. Then Lauren stepped forward. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. She placed her phone in the center of the main table and hit play. Amber's voice filled the rooftop. It was a recording, one I hadn't known Lauren had until 2 days earlier. A voicemail Amber left Hunter. "Hey baby, I can't stop thinking about the other night. I hate how fast it goes. I wish I could freeze time. Just stay in that room with you forever. I'm back now." Randall didn't notice a thing. He never does. "You're my escape. I love you." The silence that followed was surgical, precise. You could feel the atmosphere change. Amber's wine glass trembled in her hand. Her eyes darted toward me, then Lauren, then the phone. No one said anything. Not one word. Amber finally spoke, her voice strained. "Randall, this isn't the place for..." I cut her off. Calm. Direct. "No, this is exactly the place." I turned to the group. "For anyone wondering why I've been gone, or why things between us ended, that's why." I let it hang there. Amber stood frozen. One friend stepped back. Another looked down at her shoes. A couple exchanged a glance. One of those sad, uncomfortable, "Oh," glances you only make when the truth is louder than anything else. Amber opened her mouth, then closed it again. There was no script for this. No brand-friendly quote to post about healing. Just the real version of her, standing in front of people who now knew exactly who she was. I didn't stay long. I thanked the staff, said goodbye to the guests who still had the decency to make eye contact, and left. Amber didn't follow me. She stayed behind, pale and stiff, surrounded by the crumbling shell of the image she'd built. Hunter wasn't there. Of course. Cowards rarely show up to their own unveiling. I didn't answer her messages after that night. She sent a few long ones, full of apologies, explanations, recycled therapy jargon. But I didn't need healing advice from the person who broke me. She never said, "I was wrong." She said things like, "I was lost," or "I didn't mean to hurt you," as if intention erased damage. She reached out to mutual friends too, trying to salvage her image. But the truth had already settled. People saw it. No more pretending. I didn't block her. I just stopped responding. That silence became its own kind of answer. My new apartment felt like air after a storm. Quiet, plain, honest. I got rid of anything that reminded me of her. Started cooking again. Slept without tension. Reconnected with friends. I didn't feel bitter, just clear. Amber tried to repair a version of herself that no longer existed. But me? I wasn't rebuilding. I was starting fresh. I never needed to ruin her. She did that all on her own. All I did was turn on the lights and